Secretary of State, there is a new assembly in Northern Ireland, but little prospect, it seems, of a new government. So how do you envisage this place being governed in the throes of a cost of living crisis?
Well, look, first of all, David, I think all of us want to see Stormont up and running. I think it goes without saying, as I said yesterday, I think the people of Northern Ireland who voted want their politicians to take part in the democracy that they voted in. So I'll be encouraging the party leaders when I meet with them tomorrow, as I have done over the last few weeks, and indeed in the contact I've had with them over the last few days, to get those nominations in. Let's get the Assembly Speaker elected and get the Assembly up and running. There's a lot of decisions to make for the benefit of people in Northern Ireland. There's money UK government has put into the Northern Ireland Executive we want to see spent in Northern Ireland, and that means we need to get those positions filled as quickly as possible.
But the Democratic Unionists have made it abundantly clear that they've no intention of restoring power sharing until the government addresses their concerns over the Northern Ireland Protocol, that controversial border in the Irish Sea. Are you going to do that in the Queen's speech on Tuesday?
Well, I recognise the challenges with the Northern Ireland Protocol for people across unionism, and actually the protocol is causing problems for people across Northern Ireland. It's not just about unionist parties or any one party. It's something that affects communities across Northern Ireland and businesses as well, regardless of their voting intentions, and we need to get that resolved. It is really frustrating that the EU have not shown the flexibility we need to see to get that resolution. It's more frustrating, I have to say, to hear over the last couple of days that the EU seem to be saying they're not willing to show any sort of flexibility that we need to get this resolved. We do think the right resolution is an agreement with the EU. We've always been focused on that. That's why we've not triggered Article 16 yet. But we've got to be clear. The protocol that was designed to protect the Good Friday Agreement is what is actually putting the most stress on it at the moment. And we can't let that continue. We do need to get a resolution to this. We've always said we take nothing off the table, and that hasn't changed. We will do what we need to do to resolve these issues for the benefit of people in Northern Ireland.
You say you take nothing off the table. That obviously includes the possibility of unilateral action. But the Prime Minister told the DUP there would never be a border in the Irish Sea. When he conceded on that, you tried to pretend there wasn't a border in the Irish Sea. Now you're saying the government's going to address concerns over the border in the Irish Sea. So why would the Democratic Unionists believe this government?
Well, if you look back at the beginning of this, when I made the point about we don't want to see and we didn't think there'd be a border in the Irish Sea, that one of the issues was actually about the implementation of the protocol. The EU's way and style of wanting to implement some of these things, that we had grace periods put in place specifically to allow these issues to be worked out. They've never shown the flexibility to properly resolve in the way that we always, I have to say, thought that they would. And the reality is this is causing problems. Our job as a government is to recognise that and to want to deal with it. And it's causing problems at a number of levels. There are communities who can't access goods and products in the way they need to. There's businesses who are affected in the same way. That affects the whole of the UK. Businesses in Northern Ireland who can't get supplies, businesses in Great Britain who are not supplying Northern Ireland. That affects everybody. And obviously having that pressure on East West, that pressure on Stormont, and the fact that Stormont isn't sitting is putting that pressure and damage on the Good Friday Agreement itself. We've always been very clear. Our priority is and will always be the protection of the Good Friday Agreement. And that's why it's important we do resolve these issues, and we need to do that.
With all of the focus on the concerns of the Democratic Unionist Party, it sometimes creates the impression that most people in Northern Ireland have concerns about the Brexit border in the Irish Sea. But that's not the reality, of course. Of the 90 people elected to the new Northern Ireland Assembly, 54 of them are in favour of the protocol being implemented, perhaps with some adjustments. So why is the government really only interested in dancing to the DUP's tune?
Well, I think that's a bit of a misnomer that's out there, I've got to say. And you've just said, David, actually, all of the parties now recognise and are open with people about the fact there are problems with the protocol. I accept they have different views about how extreme those issues are, but all the parties want to see issues with the protocol resolved. They accept there are problems there. Pretty much every sector of the business community, almost all but one, have been very clear with us and with the EU and others that the protocol doesn't work. The EU's offer of September last year doesn't work. They've got frustration, I think, with the EU not properly engaging with the kind of flexibilities that would resolve these issues, as we do. So it is clear that this is an issue that affects everybody in Northern Ireland, and our job as UK government is to make sure that we rectify that. We want to do that with the EU. That's why our focus has been on that, rather than triggering Article 16, which we could have done last year. But there is a point at which we will need to make some decisions around if the EU is refusing to show flexibility, what can we do to alleviate these issues for the benefit of citizens of the United Kingdom, the people of all communities in Northern Ireland?
Finally, and very briefly, there's a nationalist First Minister in Scotland. There now is a nationalist First Minister-elect in Northern Ireland. Is this historic vote not proof positive that Brexit has threatened the future of the Union and could lead to the breakup of the United Kingdom?
I think if we look at the facts of what's happened over the last couple of days, no doubt this is a significant election, particularly for Northern Ireland, because we do have a nationalist elect First Minister. But we also have to remember, obviously, the Sinn Féin vote hasn't changed their number of seats. They've went in with 27 seats. They've still got 27 seats. The overall vote is very clearly there for unionism as a bloc. It still is the largest group, Stormont, and the voting on that pattern hasn't really changed. What has also been significant, I think, as the person who's on the show just before me has outlined, has been that increase in vote, the increase in seats that we've seen for the Alliance. So I think this has been a significant election, but we also need to be very clear. I think the people of Northern Ireland, their main focus, what they'll expect all of us as elected politicians to do, is get on with dealing with those issues that affect them every day. They want to see the health service reforms and investments in Northern Ireland that we've put the support in there for as UK government. They want to see the economy growing as we recover from COVID. And yes, they want us to resolve those protocol issues. That, I think, is where the focus for all of us needs to be in the period ahead.